we're kind of like more on time than usual, I feel like.
I know, we're usually so late.
I made some hot tea. I was
Annoying.
like, oh, I want some tea. I haven't had tea in a week, I think. It's like, man, I need some tea. I'm having
I
this
did
like,
get on earlier at like 3 p.m. EST, and I was like, right before 3, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is right.
That's probably my
Yeah,
fault
it's-
because I put it as 3 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. PST, and then someone messaged the Instagram and they were like, isn't EST usually after EST or like it's earlier? I'm not really familiar with the time zones, and I'm like,
I catch myself doing that all the time though. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'll start to type it out and it's like 3 p.m. PT and then I'll go like 4 p.m. ET and I'm like, none of that makes sense. What am I doing? But I'm just like not even thinking. All right. I don't know if anyone's. Oh, there's might be someone here, or it's just one of us. But so I guess we can just get right into like our star ratings and general thoughts for the book, non-spoiler stuff. And then then we can get into the spoilers and talk about the book. So if you are here in the comments, let us know what you rated it as well while we're all revealing our ratings.
okay, you want me to go first?
You want to go first?
So I gave it like a high 4.5. I feel like I should just give it a 5 because I gave it a 4.5, but then like thinking back on it, the only real critique I had about it was that I feel like it dragged for me in a few parts. Like it felt a little long in some parts. And I'm like, should I really take a whole half star off for that? So it's like a high 4.5, probably a 5. I really liked it.
After sitting on it for a while, it's like a 3 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was too long. It's not that it's a bad ending. It just did not do what I wanted it to do. Like I was not happy with what happened. But I did really like the motherhood aspects. And like I've got quite a few quotes highlighted, like when she's just talking about going crazy because she's a stay-at-home mom, which is like relatable. So like I really liked that aspect of it, and I liked like the supernatural-ish aspects that we were getting, but it just like took a turn that I didn't want it to do. And I thought it was too long.
I agree about the ending. I'm sitting at like a 4.5 or a 5, just like Kat. Like, I'm not sure if I want to give it a 5 or not. The only issue that I have is like probably somewhere in part 2, there was like some spots where I just felt like it dragged a little bit, but I read like the last 150 pages just this morning. So like I still read it pretty fast. So and like even though that dragged a little bit, it didn't like stop me from like wanting to keep reading. So I just kept reading through it. And I agree, like the ending, which I do think it's cool, like she's supposed to be this artist and everything. I won't get into it, but it still didn't end exactly the way, I don't know. I don't exactly know how I would have wanted it to end, but I don't know. I wasn't like, wow, by the end, but there's a lot of really relatable stuff in here. Like, I'm not a stay-at-home mom personally, but a lot of that stuff resonated with me. A lot of like the frustration and the bitterness you feel, like that was just so relatable. And I saved a lot of stuff too. So
yeah, I also like highlighted so much, and I was like, obviously I don't have any kids, so I was surprised like how, I don't know, I guess I could relate to these feelings, even though I guess I just know they're true for so many mothers, and they're feelings that are like brushed aside by a lot of people. So yeah, I really like those parts.
Yeah, I think a lot of the quotes that I had are like things that were like hitting home, or things that you probably, even if you're not a parent, you know from like if you look at a traditional household or what people think is the traditional family, you know, you see things online, you see people talking about it, or like the difference between being a father and a mother, or being the working parent and the non-working parent. So yeah, I think
absolutely. I think,
I
and
just was
even
like
with,
highlighting on my Kindle, like, you mother effer.
yeah,
Like,
you're someone
yes,
who's like not a
yes.
mother yet, but you still have like, it's obvious that you have those reservations because you know what that's going to entail for you, like that type of commitment in your life. So it's even without being a mom, you would still find like things to relate to because you're like, well, yeah, I could totally see it changing my life because that's why I'm holding off on it, or that's why I choose not to have kids because like this would take a toll on my life, like it would change so much. So I think it could relate to either or.
Right.
I think I'm just like really into feminist like literature right now. I don't know, it's just like totally speaking to me.
Same. That's like I always say like my favorite genre is like feminist horror. I just
Mhm.
love the way people pair those two things together.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think this one was done pretty great. I think if I will probably just end up giving it a 5-star. I'm thinking about just getting rid of half-star ratings in general, just to make things simpler for me.
Yeah.
So
I don't even do star ratings anymore, except for like on here or
Mhm.
24, like when we're asked. I don't even
Yeah.
bother. I'm just
Oh,
like,
really?
yay or nay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So 5 stars. Yeah, the end is weird. I feel like it's something I have to sit on for a little bit so I can like fully digest it, and then I'll know whether or not like I actually like the ending. 4.5. So it seems like most people really, really enjoyed the book.
Yeah.
So we can get into spoilers now. Figure anyone who's in the chat probably read the book already. But if you haven't, probably leave now. We're gonna get into it. I think my favorite had to be the entirety of part 1. I think part 1 is like the best part of the story for me. I like we were saying before, just like that very relatable frustration and bitterness you feel. Like I know it sounds weird to say you were bitter, like being bitter, but when you think about it, it is a much harder transition into being a mother than to being a father. So it's so easy to be bitter because you're just like you don't understand because it's it's really like
I have an amazing supportive husband, but I saw something the other day that said, when the mother leaves the house, they're asked who's going to watch the child. When a father leaves the house, it's not asked. Like it's a non-issue.
yeah.
And like obviously this is going to go into like like obviously if you have 2 moms, 2 dads, like this is all going to be different, but when you're like thinking about like stereotypes and stuff, and like I think the majority of stay-at-home parents are going to be like the mother figure, but it's a lot of this, even though I like being a stay-at-home mom and my husband works very hard and I appreciate it and he does help around the house and he does help with the child, I still like connected with a lot of this stuff. Like she talks about hating that when her husband's home on the weekends, he sleeps in because he's tired from working, but she feels like he should get up early with the child too. And like if he's out and about, he should hurry up and get home, like because that's what she does. And like as a mom, it's still sometimes in my head, I'm taking a shower, I'm like, oh, I'm taking a long time, I better hurry up and get back to helping with a child. Like no, he can do it. Like so like so many of these things, like even just the smallest things like that where she was talking about stuff like that really hit home, even if it's not like I just like you said, I don't want to say bitter, but like
It is kind of that feeling though, because you feel like almost resentment, but like I also like my husband and I we're we both work. So I'm not a stay-at-home mom. We're completely 50-50 when it comes to like childcare and stuff. And doing things around the house. But when I had Robin, I chose to breastfeed. So a lot of like the feedings and everything was totally, was my decision, was totally on me. And I was still like, I would get so frustrated and angry because I'm like, you just you don't have to do this. Like, it's just, when you just you feel like everything is just on you all the time, that it's just solely your responsibility. And so and I think, at least for us, we did get past that point. We got to this point of communication where just things work so well for us now. But that was such a hard transition to like figuring out each of our roles and what we're going to do and how we're going to even it out. Like, and, you feel a lot of bitterness, I guess, or just frustration towards each other. And especially being like the mom and the sole like feeder, it's that it takes a toll on your like marriage and your life. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that it was super related. There was a lot that I saved in here. Wonder if I can refresh my memory.
I like this comment that brings up people are still amazed that women can work and have kids. One of the things that I highlighted was who isn't a working mother, and then add a paid job to it. So what are you then? A working mother? Imagine saying a working father.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I read that, I was like, oh, yes, absolutely. That totally hits home.
I also liked all the dog stuff too.
It was a lot cooler than I thought. So I wasn't expecting to love this book going in. I did like read maybe the first like 20 pages or so back in November when we're supposed to read it, and then I stopped. I just didn't read it. But like I wasn't really, I was like, okay, well, I gotta read this book so that we can talk about it and everything. And I just wasn't really expecting to enjoy it all that much. Like at first it felt kind of like a chore, and then I started reading it and I was like, oh my, like I should have read this months ago. Like this relates to me so much. Like I know all these feelings, and it just,
But then like even just like liking dogs and having a dog, like I thought it was hilarious when they were like chasing the squirrels in the park.
I thought it was so cute, and that was like this bonding moment for that. It was just that was really, really cute, actually. I think I saved. Let's see what I saved, at least as far as like some quotes I want to talk about from part 1. Oh, I really liked this. You light a fire early in your girlhood. You stoke it and tend it. You protect it at all costs. You didn't let it rage into a mountain of light, because that's not becoming of a girl. You keep it secret. You let it burn. You look into the eyes of other girls and see their fires flickering there. Offer conspiratorial nods. Never speak aloud of a near unbearable heat, a growing conflagration. Conflagration. How do you say that? Did I say that right?
Conflagration.
No idea.
Conflagration. But I really, really liked that, and I saved that in here. I don't know. I definitely want to like pass this book on to like one of my other mom friends. Like I feel like she's just gonna find this so relatable. She is a stay-at-home mom, so like, she confides in me a lot, and we talk about what she goes through too. And it's like it's so different from my struggles, but like it's so much the same too. Like
Yeah.
it is so difficult. Like she is a goddess. Like how? Just it's insane. Oh, you highlighted that part too. Cool. So basically the main character, she is like this, she was this artist, and then now she has this 2-year-old. It's so crazy too, because like the kid is like 2 years old, which is the same age as my daughter and your son, Carol. So I was like, I know we're both totally relating to this right now. Like crazy. Because it's like all the like the potty training thing she had talked about, and just like the sleeping thing has been really difficult for me lately. Robin has been having night terrors. So we've been like getting up in the middle of the night, and she's just like crying, and like now we're trying to figure out like how to like soothe her. But I guess you're like just supposed to kind of let them cry, and then they like go back to sleep, but it's like hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot of lost sleep happening in our house. So it was crazy that I read it at this time because she just started having those night terrors like a few weeks ago.
Right. Like there's a part where she talks about how the kid wants to push the button on the blender, but then
I was just going to read that.
That's Gunner. Okay. He'll drink the delicious smoothie that you make, but don't you dare turn the blender on.
It's too loud. Yeah.
So like even just stuff like that. And then there's like the more deep stuff that like I have like a severe extreme like diagnosed anxiety. And so some of the quotes about how like her kid just screaming would just like make her so angry and like just want to like lose her shit. Even though like you love your child so much, sometimes you're just like, oh my God, I can't do it.
Absolutely. I think that is such a like, it's a weird phenomenon that I never experienced before. And then I became a parent and I was like her crying literally will just like start this ball of anger in my chest. And I'm like, and I hate that it happens. And I think it's supposed to be there to make you super anxious, but it can also like make you so mad. And then, so my husband will often see it like when it's happening and he'll like take over because he'll just see me like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose it. I'll tell him I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my shit right now. And then he'll just, and it's just, and I can't help it. Like, you know, and it doesn't happen every single time she cries, but there are moments that I feel those like feelings.
It's kind of like a build up. And like in the book, it's like all building up for her too. Like, and then like the turning into a dog, it's like progressing and building one thing on top of another.
Absolutely. And it definitely it feels that way. It feels like this rising anger. Like I couldn't even imagine being like a single parent or just not having your spouse there to like grab the child in those situations when you're just like you're at your like your wit's end. Yeah.
I'm always like, I'm going to go get some cigarettes and I'm not coming back for 5 years.
Yeah, right. It's such a weird feeling. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah. That's why I kind of wish I know there's one part in the book where she goes to dinner or something with people she used to work with or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she mentions, I'm doing this project. And I was like, okay, so that's not what's happening then. Like she just I really thought that she was just saying that to kind of like hide the craziness that's happening.
Yeah.
But then the fact that it went in that direction, I wasn't happy with it because I just didn't like it for one thing, but also is she not feeling these things or she is feeling these things and she's coping with it with this project? I don't know.
It does add a little bit of confusion with this whole thing that she's going through. Right. Because I felt the same way. I thought that she was just saying it just so that she could like make up for the fact that she was acting strange.
Yeah.
So like when it actually happened, I was like, oh, so we are doing this.
Yeah. I just would rather like turn into a dog at night and go run around for a while. Like
oh my God.
So positive was NightBitch, so thoroughly upbeat and might we say delusional. Yeah, that kind of like, see, like when they use the term like delusional, I'm like, oh, this lady is really thinking she's out running around the neighborhood thinking she's a dog. But no.
Yeah.
But there was another thing that kind of, that I highlighted that's kind of like that, talking about how she shouldn't poke fun at her, or she should be able to poke fun at herself. She shouldn't be uptight. She should be able to like insult herself and it's funny or whatever. And it reminded me of, if anybody's ever read Gone Girl, where like the main character talks about how she's the cool girl because she feels like she has to be the cool girl. And it's kind of like how women have to portray themselves to be accepted.
Yeah. It was kind of a similar idea that I highlighted. She knew that the concept of the hysterical woman was itself a sexist creation, and she rejected the label altogether, but she also made sure no one would ever associate her with such a label to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's like you can like identify these things, but you're like, I still do not want to be like ever called that or be called crazy or whatever.
Yeah, this one I saved was I feel as though societal norms, gendered expectations, and the infuriating bluntness of biology have forced me to become this person, even though I'm having a hard time parsing now. Precisely, I arrived at this place. I am angry all the time. I would one day like to direct my own artwork toward a critique of these modern day systems that articulates all this. But my brain no longer functions as it did before. And I'm like, that seems so it's so crazy because like when she talks about like wanting to have something for her, I'm like, that's literally why I have booktube. That's literally why I have like the book club. Like it's for that reason, so that I can have something solely for me. And that's why she like, I find it very God, why can't I think? I am dumb. I am dumb now. But I find it makes more sense now why like a lot of stay-at-home moms or like housewives will get into these like multi-level marketing things because they want something for just themselves, like whether they're going to make a ton of money out of it or whatever. Like I think genuinely these like oftentimes women just want something for themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it just like made so much sense to me right then. I was like, that clicks. Like, why am I doing what I do as a hobby? Because I want something for myself. So
yeah, I think finances play a role in that too, because I think it, like for my situation, I did work. Like I had a job and I was bringing in money and like had a career. And to stop that, one of the, like, I'm fine with not working. It's great. But like the adjustment is, even though we shared money and paid bills together and stuff, I still felt like I didn't have my money.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my husband's great. He's like, this is our money. Like, it doesn't matter if I work X amount of hours and you just stay home. Like, it's ours. That's still an adjustment too. So like, not only are you taking away like actual activities, but almost like some kind of power, or I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like, it's
kind of like a sort
like
of
independence. Like you, as a child, your parents are paying for everything, and then you go and you make your own money, and then you stop making money, and then someone else is paying for it. Like it's kind of like feeling like a step backwards. And so like I think that's part of it too.
No, absolutely. I could totally see that. Like just them having some sort of independence. I would feel the same way. Even like my husband and I, we right now we have separate accounts. We eventually plan to probably just put them together just so to pay for childcare, make things just easier.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would still love to have just my own account, like my own stuff.
Right. That's what we did. We had a shared, and then we each had our own. And then like, so we could pull things together. We could work things together. But like, it is a different, it like just really takes away your independence, because like, imagine if you were a woman in a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're stuck because you have no finances of your own.
Yeah.
Or, maybe you're in an abusive relationship and you can't spend a penny without that person wanting to know where it is or whatever. Yeah. So it does take away your independence, and
that's a scary thing. Like that's something like we are just kind of expected to give up when we like get married and start a family and stuff. We give up our last name, and then we also give up like our independence for like in some situations. And that's just, it's wild to think of that.
Yeah.
So she ends up meeting with these moms that are on this like multi-level. I thought it was really funny that all the moms were named Jen. Like what? Like she goes to this like the party with the moms and they're all named Jen, she says.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
I was just gonna say, I don't really remember
Or
that.
maybe I
either.
don't remember.
All the moms at the party are named Jen. So she introduces all of them, and then she's like, so Jen does this, her husband does this, and she does it like she would just like they were all named Jen. It was weird, but I don't know what that was about. But
Yeah, that's another thing that threw me off is like she said that one of the women like always smelled like strawberries, and then all of a sudden one of these dogs smelled like strawberries. I'm like, hell yeah, these women are turning into dogs and running the streets like
I
this.
love that too. And like that's what the MLM really was, just like this little weird dog.
Sign me up.
They're just dogs.
Oh. I think. Oh, are you asking why about the names? Probably
Yeah,
because it's
know.
like,
I wish I would have.
They're all stay-at-home moms. They're all going to story time. They're all in the MLM. It's like
I think it was a way to make them all like cookie cutter the same.
Yeah, carbon copies.
Yeah.
Yep. You lose your identity. That's what it is. It's like you don't have your identity as a mother, or you don't feel like you do because you give up your whole life.
Well,
for
then
your
you notice
kids.
this, like the main Jen starts to like befriend the main character, and then once they start becoming friends, or once she starts seeing that she's like this totally different person, like like her hair is more wild, and like she doesn't wear makeup and all this stuff, she starts growing out her hair, and then you see it like Jen starts to change, and she's like, I've always liked this style, like I've always wanted to be like this, like, and I think like other women can bring that out in you if you're like, I don't know, like I think I really resonated with this like once like that female bonding thing started coming in too, because my husband and his friends are like very social, and they're like always planning things, and then so their wives have become my friends. At first though, it was more just like we're hanging out together, like, and we are nice to each other, and like we don't really communicate outside of like the group.
Right.
This past like year or two, we have totally become our own deal. We're the ones that have taken over the itinerary. Like we are just like totally connecting on a very different level, and it's just like been, I don't know, like transformative. I don't know how to explain it, but like I have formed such great bonds with the women that I'm with now. Like it's just insane. And so I could totally relate to this once they start forming like this pack, I guess. And then when she's reading the book about magical women and they're talking about the were-mothers, and I was like, dude, like I would love this, like a society of women that like live in the wild, and like I don't know, it was just I was totally like in love with that aspect of it, because I was like, I could do that. I would love that. Like I have my own pack. I don't know. It's just
it's kind of like a motivation. I don't know if motivation is the right word, but I, especially like in more recent years or with like social media and stuff, I feel like women are a lot more open about the negative side of pregnancy and motherhood. And instead of just like lying and being like, oh yes, I love this baby that's inside me already, and I'm glowing, pregnancy is great, I feel great, I'm so happy. I feel like there's been so many more people being open about like being depressed during pregnancy and not feeling a bond until like you actually have the baby, and then like talking about how hard motherhood is. Like I feel like in the past you're supposed to just be happy and like, oh look, I love cleaning my house, I love spending all my time with my kids. And now I feel like more often, like with social media, people are like, these damn kids, I can't do it. Like it's just more realistic. Like I hated being pregnant. I was depressed as hell, and I was vomiting all the time, and I hated it. I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never having another kid. I don't care. I'm never. And like, but everyone would be like, oh, aren't you so happy? I'm like, no, this sucks. This is horrible. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I'm having the
why
life
don't we go
sucked
through
out of
this?
me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you
But
do
I
it
feel
in
like
practice,
with
too.
seeing other women or other people like talk about how much things suck, but then also talking about how difficult it is to like find yourself and find things for yourself, but like how to overcome that, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. That I think that like gives, at least for me, it gives me a little bit more motivation. Like if I see a mom on Instagram and she's like, here's my workout routine, like this is how I fit it in, or and if I miss it, I miss it. Like stuff like that gets me more motivated to like make time for myself, take care of myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to eat lunch too. Like
Yeah.
I think it's a whole, like a pack, like in the book, like you just have to support each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I see that happening more and more now. Like, I don't know. And then maybe it just depends on like who you're surrounding yourself with and, you know, how you're being supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can definitely relate to that. What have we?
I forgot about that whole book part, like the magic book.
I
and
do
stuff.
really like that aspect of the story. I thought that was really, really cool. I usually end up liking books that have a book aspect, like they have another book in the book.
Yeah.
Like I always end up liking those for some reason.
But is the
So when
book real though?
So
Like if she's
is it
doing all this
like a
stuff, is
book?
she getting the idea from that book, or is she making up the book as well?
She finds the book after she is already
Oh, okay.
like experiencing those symptoms. Like she's already like her teeth are sharper and like she's getting hair on the back of her neck. And then she like ends up going to the library and finding this book. But she
Okay,
does
yeah, that's
say
right.
like towards the end, like when she's like getting like, I think it might be after she kills the cat. I think is when she was like, is it the book that's making me like this? Is it making me think that I'm like this?
Oh yeah.
Because she
I'm
does
trying to
like she's
remember.
concerned, you know, that's when she's like concerned for the son, like is he gonna be traumatized?
Right now I really have a problem with the whole art thing, because like you're gonna kill a cat for that? Wait, did she really kill a cat for
Well,
that?
see, I don't think it was like actually an art project. Like I think maybe she was. I don't know.
No, it was, because isn't she like performing in front of
Yeah,
people?
she performs at the end. So maybe it was an art project the entire time.
I'm taking a star off for that.
Oh, no.
I mean, the cat killing was pretty unnecessary. Like they already did the things in the, you know, she was already out there like killing squirrels and rabbits
Hunting.
and stuff. So I don't think she had to kill the cat either.
But like that's what I'm thinking. Like if she's out there killing squirrels, I'm thinking, okay, she's turning into a dog. My dogs kill things, so that's okay. I understand. But then she just goes and kills a cat, and it turns out she just was doing it for the sake of art. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, no. I'm not either. Yeah.
I didn't even. I don't know why that didn't click. Like when I read this 2 months ago.
I don't
It was a good
know.
book. I would recommend it to people.
Yeah,
It just
Like I
didn't
said,
do what I
wanna-
want, and that's not
Yeah.
a reason for me to like be like, this book sucks. It just
Yeah.
was a personal preference thing.
I get that.
I think the end does kind of lose it a little bit, but like everything up until that point, I think it's just really powerful.
I think one of my favorite quotes of all time came from this book. And it's when so funny when she's just like feeling powerful and she's like yelling and she's like, I can crush a walnut with my
Yes, yes, I love that.
I forgot.
It's so great. She like flips out.
Oh my god, I love that part
It's so
so
great.
That's
much.
so funny.
I couldn't even imagine like just being at that table and then she just gets up and she's like, I can crush a walnut with my vagina. And then she just like runs off into the woods. Like, what?
That's why I was like, there's no way this is like an art thing. I'm like, this lady is losing it.
Oh my gosh. That was pretty good. I saved one from the end. It was like she says to her husband, I am your wife, I am a woman, I am this animal, I've become everything. I'm new and I'm also ancient. I've been ashamed but will be no more. I liked that. I liked when he finally joins in on her like dog thing. Like when she's finally just like opens up to him about it and they're like outside and she's running around being a dog and then the husband like joins in too and like they're playing around and stuff. Like
Yeah.
because at first like I found him kind of frustrating because he was kind of like he would like I guess like brush off things that she would say like and he would just not be concerned at all about like maybe she's going through it right now. Like maybe you need to be there a little more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess now looking back, you could say like, oh, obviously this isn't really happening because he's like, you're fine. Like I know like it could be commentary on like dismissing women's health issues and stuff like that. But like if he's like, your teeth are fine, there's no hair on your back, then it's kind of like, But yeah, I just.
Yeah.
But now she was feeding her. I'm just having like an epiphany.
Yeah, she was feeding her son raw meat.
For art? You kill him. Like, could you imagine? Oh, my kid has worms because I was doing an art project. Get the F out of here.
Yeah, there's some questionable decisions happening in this book.
Maybe it was a mix of her just like and art.
She just like really gets into the art when she's in it. She's in it.
A real performance piece.
Yeah.
Hi, Marty. I miss her. Yeah, I think we were thinking about talking about it in January, but or with the January live, but then I was like, I'll just do it this weekend.
I feel like this is probably better. I feel like it would be way too long if we did both at once.
Yeah. I think so too, especially because there was a lot I wanted to say about this one. You know, like I just felt like it would be.
Well, I think at that point, like people were like, have not read it. Like you hadn't read it when we were talking about doing that. So.
Yeah, I hadn't read it, so yeah, I'm gonna read it now. And we're gonna talk about it.
I'll definitely pick up more from the author. Like,
I think so too. This is like it's. I feel like if I don't know, it's kind of reminiscent of like Bunny in a sense to me. I feel like the writing style is kind of the same, and the way this story plays out.
Yes, it reminded me of Bunny too.
Mm-hmm.
I liked this better than Bunny, but I think it's because of the motherhood aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's gonna bitch about like their house is always dirty and their kid won't shut up, like I'm down. Like that's
I'm right there.
Like
right,
feel it in my soul.
Yeah. I just think the meat is the raw meat is a reference to her wanting women to be more wild in general. She wants them. Yeah, I think that's what the whole dog aspect has to do with it. But like, I don't know, maybe we're taking it too literal. Maybe she didn't feed him raw meat. Maybe she just said
if she literally killed the cat, I'm sure she would feed him raw meat.
Maybe.
Well, that kind of brings up like, have any of you read Women Who Run with Wolves?
Mm-mm.
It's like myths and stories of the wild women archetype. It's supposed to be like
I would read it. I just finished reading We Are Wolves, which is a like horror anthology done by female horror authors. So I mean, let's just stay with the same like
it says it
here and just read books about women being wolves and stuff. That'd be great.
It says it unfolds rich intercultural myths, fairy tales, folk tales, and stories surrounding like women in order to help women reconnect with the fierce, healthy attributes of instinctual nature.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've had it on like my to be read forever, but I think it's pretty popular. You probably would recognize the cover or something, but
I'll have to look it up.
this kind of reminds me of it. Like maybe Rachel Yoder like read that book and was like, you know what? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna do something like
this is
that.
it.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
remember loving the premise but not enjoying the execution that much. I think I really enjoyed everything up until the art performance itself. It just made me question the book as a whole, but I think I don't know. I would totally just like reread this and keep this forever because I still really, really like a lot of the content.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I can't.
I think if it didn't go to the art performance thing, then it could have been a really cool, like weird short story.
Yeah,
like
I do.
along the lines of things have gotten worse and to be devoured and stuff like that. I think it could have gone in with those.
I could see that too. Like especially like that whole part one like could have been a story in itself almost.
Yeah.
Like just without the MLM and everything, just about her like frustrations and thinking she's turning into a dog. That would have been really, really interesting. But I think it also like brings her out of her shell and then has her like create these like bonds with these other women too. So because at first she's pretty distanced from them. She's just like, oh, they're like perfect moms and all this. And then when she finally like sits down with the girl, she's like, oh yeah, like she's got it rough too.
Yeah, it's like the whole book she's losing herself even more than she already has, but then by making it a performance piece, it's like she's reclaiming her independence and her identity and stuff. So like I kind of like that, but I just
and I like how that like bleeds into her life too. Like she's like taking time for herself. She tells her husband, like, you have him Saturday, like when you get home, like you're doing nights, and that is final.
Yeah. I think like zooming way out from the story, I don't know if this was actually the author's intention, but like kind of looking at it from afar, it kind of seems to me like once she stopped thinking about how to be a perfect mother and like making these perfect decisions for her child, she kind of just like gave in and pretended to be a dog with her kid, like playing around, getting dirty at the playground. She enjoyed motherhood more and ended up finding herself and like being able to get back into her art again.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think you nailed it. I think that probably was her intention. I think so.
I don't know. Maybe I did like this more than I thought, but
you're going up and down this whole time.
I have been. Like, this is great. Oh, damn, the cat. No.
I know. It's the cat. The cat part is really hard to like get past.
Yeah, like I know Amy DNF'd it because of the animal stuff, and I like completely understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get a reminder because I'll post about the live show today. I just haven't put it up a broadcast up, but I'm pretty sure I have the thumbnail ready and everything. I just haven't put the broadcast up, but I'll do that by the end of the day. There's a lot of commentary on the perfect mother. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fun that she does finally just like let go, and she's like pretending to be a dog, and like her kid has a leash and everything, and I'm like, that's just great. Whatever. He wants to be a dog. I love that.
That's kind of how my mom parented us, so I think I really like that. Like she never was like, oh no, you have to wear this to school because like you don't want to look insane. She would let us wear whatever the fuck we picked out, like 2 different shoes. She was just like, okay,
if that's what you like, then oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what kids are gonna remember.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we went to the park and my mom sat on the bench and didn't do anything with me. Yeah. No, my mom got down on all fours and acted like she was peeing on a tree. Like,
yeah, right.
That's what they're gonna remember.
Exactly. And I think like, it takes a little time, but you finally get it down to like, I don't need to take this so seriously.
Yeah.
Like it will come natural. Like stop, like, because you're constantly comparing especially like I have friends who have kids that are younger than Robin who are already potty trained. Like things like that where you're just constantly comparing and I find myself doing that and then I'm like, no, like it's been this way with everything that she has learned to do. She may have done it a little bit later, but she has done it on her own time. Like I could tell that she was ready to do this. Like if I try to push something that she's not ready for, I'm not helping any of it.
Right.
And I'm like, it's not like she will always show me what she's ready for. And it's always kind of been that way since I've had her is I've just like waited to see what she was ready to do. Like, I'm like, is she ready to eat this yet? Maybe not. Is she ready to do this? And then like, I'll just kind of gauge how she feels about it. I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of how I parent. It's like my parenting style is just like, whatever.
Yeah. I just hope for the best.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I'm like, I have night terrors too, and I didn't really know what to expect. Like when she had them, and I was just like, what do I do? What do I do? And we tried comforting her. That made it worse. Like us holding her, us trying to wake her, everything stressed her out more and made it worse.
Yep.
And then finally we were just like, okay, we'll just leave her alone. And then a minute or two, she's just completely back to sleep and nothing ever happened. So it's just like sometimes you're figuring it out as you go.
Yeah. Parenthood is trial and error.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then I'm like, well, I guess next time I won't do that.
You could have 5 kids and they're all going to need different things.
Yeah.
They're their own people, which is something that I never really thought about. Like, you have preferences. Like you can't use a toilet, but you have preferences. It's so crazy.
That's so funny.
But it's a lot of fun. There's some great things about it, but this book totally like hit all the marks.
I'm glad we were able to do this because there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I was kind of nervous because I was like, oh, I read this like 3 months ago now. I don't know if I'll remember much.
I know, I'm so glad that I read it this morning because I remember a lot.
Perfect balance.
Most of it this morning. I want to let's see if there's like anything else like quote wise that I would want to share before we are done with this.
Yeah, I pulled out my Kindle to like look through them all.
Yeah. Oh, I like how when she's talking about making him responsible, she says, I didn't want to deny him things to make his life harder, but already she felt this pull inside her to make him responsible in a fundamental way, to tell him no and no and no. And sure, she was trying to train him against the entire world and against what the entire world told him, was trying to say, look, I am not all yours. I am not only here for you, but of course, ultimately she was his, all of her. Like, I think that's like such an important thing because it's like you do feel like you're like you belong to them, like, and then you have this little independence when it comes to your children and stuff. So I think that was pretty powerful. I was like, yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. Like you feel like you lose yourself a little bit in that like little human.
Yeah. That little dictator.
And I love the part where she just decides she's just going to wear whatever she wants to. Like, I really enjoyed that too. She's like, I'm just going to wear whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care what anyone thinks about it. And like, that's just such a freeing thing. I think it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like, at least with my group of mom friends that I was talking about, or just like my female friends in general, we're all kind of like that free spiritedness. Like we will hang out with each other and we'll go and sit in my book room and we'll like take our bras off and we're just like hanging out and like, it's very like, I don't know. It's very like animalistic in a sense. I don't know. I feel like this is just so, I don't know. Maybe it just worked really well for me because of that. I think the Were Mothers thing just got me. It was like, this is my group of friends. We're always like, we're not gonna wear a bra. And we're like, when we did our like, we had like a girls trip in the beginning of December, and it was honestly like the best thing ever. Like there were no expectations for any of us to like do anything we didn't want to do. Like if we didn't want to do our hair, our makeup, if we didn't want to do anything, if we didn't want to wear a bra, if we didn't want to wear clothes, do whatever we wanted. And it was seriously the most freeing thing. And I feel like every group of friends needs to like just do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then you go and you're like, wait, am I forgetting something? Shouldn't I be doing something? Does someone need their butt wiped? Like,
Right?
Why?
I know.
I think I went to lunch with someone a couple months ago, like met them just myself, and like just the fact of not taking a diaper bag. Like I'm like, why do I feel naked right now? Like what is
Right?
this?
Absolutely.
But this book is just a lot of different levels of finding her identity in different aspects because she's has an identity as a mother, has an identity as a wife, has an identity as an artist, and then as of herself. And yeah, I think it's a really good commentary, even if it didn't go the way I wanted it to. I think it was a good one.
I think so too. It's like a really important one. I think I would definitely recommend this to a bunch of people. So
Maybe even like someone who's about to like have a baby.
yeah, be like, hey, you're gonna
Here's a
feel these
warning.
feelings, okay? But like,
Right, and it's okay.
It's
Yeah.
normal. We all feel this, okay? Because it's a very realistic way of like portraying those feelings because they're intense feelings,
Right.
and you know, not
But then you put like a fun twist on it, like I'm turning into a dog. Like it's
yeah.
it's like a weird, goofy way to deal with more serious things.
Oh, for sure. All right. Do you guys have any like final thoughts or anything or any other quotes that you want to share? I don't know if I have anything else. Maybe like as far as her performance, like the violence of it when she talks about the violence of childbirth and how the child rips you open to come into the world, or like how a child is ripped out of you. And like I thought that was like really crazy. It's like, yeah, it's like a super violent thing. Like giving birth is a super violent thing.
And in most cases, you're expected to go back to work in like 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
I know.
So crazy. I have one quote last to share. You could always tell a mother by that look. She had come to find one that encompassed not only exhaustion and boredom, but something more. It was as though the mothers were staring towards something they had lost, something they couldn't even remember. And that's kind of the whole thing we've been talking about is losing yourself.
Yeah, when she talks to the main Jen, she finds out that she like had this big career and everything, and she's like talking about it, and then she says that her face changes and she just gets completely silent and stares off into the distance, and it's like she was probably sitting there thinking like, wow, like she like misses that. So I think every mother needs to think for themselves.
So one more I have. Since you are a woman, this is your lot in life, your work to do what's hard, what's unspeakably painful, and then to keep this covenant of silence. And I think that kind of speaks to what you were saying, Raine, about like how freeing it is to find a group of people that you don't need to keep that silence with anymore, that you can be like open about and be like, I feel like shit today. Life is so hard today. And like just how freeing it is to be able to break out of that.
Yeah, it really is. So awesome. I love that. Well, I think that's about it.
And yes, the live show for is next Saturday.
Yeah,
same time.
Saturday, same time, 3 p.m. PT, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about a history of wild places. So, yeah, it'll be fun. So excited. And then next month we are reading The Hollow Places.
Yes, The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher.
Yes. So I'm excited about that because a lot of people have been like suggesting we read that one. Like last year, it was suggested a lot. So we're gonna read that. But yeah, thank you guys for participating in the book club and the live show. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that I ended up actually like making time for this book. I'm really, really happy about it. I'm so happy with everything I've been reading this year. Like so happy.
I love that.
And I'm excited. I'm going to start A History of Wild Places tonight. So, yeah. And then we'll talk about it on Saturday. Yeah, that'll be fun. The Hollow Places. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Kat and Carol, for joining me in the chat. It was really fun. I think it was a great discussion. It was like one of the best, I think. I always have fun talking to you guys about books. All right, everyone. Yeah, 3 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. EST for Saturday's live show. Okay. I'll put a broadcast up tonight so you'll be able to like set a reminder and everything. But yeah. Bye, everyone.